You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Ian, look at this.
Well, it's a police box. What on earth is he doing here? Well, these things are usually on the street. I feel it. Do you feel it?
Faint vibration.
It's alive.
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup celebrating nearly 50 years of Doctor Who universe. Hold tight. You never know where the TARDIS is going next.
You're probably a bit confused right now. I broke the glass. It's all come back to me.
What is this?
That's my ship.
What?
Let me take it from the top. Hello, I'm the Doctor. I'm a traveller in space and time. And that thing buried down there is called a TARDIS. Time and relative dimension in space. You're gonna love this.
Hey there, listeners, and welcome to another episode of the Earth Station Who podcast. That's right, folks. We're back, and we are talking about the third chapter in the Flux saga of Doctor Who, and this one, Once Upon a Time. I had to always put the comma there, try to emphasize it. And, when I was first talking about it, it was just like, Once Upon a Time. Oh, it's going to be a fairy tale. Oh, no, this was definitely not a fairy tale by any means. But it was very interesting to see, and I've, finally got to see it because it's just been a busy week, folks. So it was a lot of fun, and I'm going to be looking forward to seeing what everyone has to say, and be very interesting to hear what everyone has to talk about it. We have a great crew here to talk about it tonight. Of course, let's welcome our guests first. Of course, Alan Siler's back to the show. Welcome, sir.
Yay! Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's always nice to have you, sir. And
Bless you.
And of course, Mr. Michael Falkner is back.
Well, hello there. It's been a while since I've been here.
Yeah, well, it's been, how many days now? It's really good to have you too, sir. And
thank you.
This is going to be interesting. We've been asking our guests before we get started on the rest of the show, what has been your initial thoughts for the first two episodes of the season? This is both open to you and Alan.
I have really actually enjoyed this. I know we've been talking a little bit about it since we've met up a couple times since the season started, and it's a low bar to say, well, I'm glad Chibnall's not screwing it up, but I'm actually very pleased. I haven't had a moment of real disappointment in the last few episodes here.
You haven't been in a limbo contest, in other words. Got it.
Right. I've actually been very pleased to see kind of almost a return to the classic era with, a 6-part story. It's ending on cliffhangers. You really don't have, you have a flavor of what's going on, but you don't have the full story yet, and it's just building and building and building. And I'm really enjoying the ride so far. What I'm really hoping, of course, is that we don't get let down in the next few episodes, but time will tell.
Okay. Alan, what about you?
I've been a bit more lukewarm on it than that.
Okay, that's okay. I've been seeing your reviews online, so we do.
Have I? I haven't really said much.
Well, that's the point. You haven't said much.
That's true. That is very true. So I enjoyed the Sontaran episode more than the first one. The first one I thought was just complete chaos. Mm-hmm. And just, like storyline and characters out of nowhere. And all of a sudden you have Sontarans attacking something and you don't know what it is. And it was just crazy. The second episode I enjoyed a lot more.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to be very interested to hear both your opinions a little bit. God, this could be a fun one, folks.
Oh, boy.
Hold on, or it's going to be a very bumpy ride. So it should be a lot of fun. We also have our regulars here, of course. Let's, of course, welcome the lovely and talented Mary Ogle.
Hi, everybody. It is fantastic to be here.
You doing okay this week, Mary?
I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there.
I am so happy to hear that. And, of course, Mr. Michael Gordon.
Howdy.
How are you, Mike?
Peachy Keen.
Good. It's good to have you. It's been a whole 24 hours since I've seen you, you know?
I know. Since the three of us have done a podcast. So.
Oh, yeah. For those who don't know, we actually recorded the Earth Station 1 Holiday Gift Guide, which is our annual tradition. And, you know, I'm still pricing out Oculus Rifts right now as we speak. You know, it's like, oh, come on. I made the mistake of actually going online and looking what games they had for it. That was a huge mistake. Huge mistake. So, you know, you Trekkies out there, you get to go on the bridge of the Enterprise. It is frippin' awesome. So, I'm looking forward to seeing where this one goes. Judy's like, oh, God, I know what our holiday gift is now. It's like, no, I can't say that quite yet. So, we'll see. But we definitely would love to hear from you guys at home. Please write us feedback at earthstationwho.com. Definitely would love to hear what you guys' thoughts on the season so far. And what about this episode, Once Upon a Time? It's going to be very interesting to hear what you guys thought about it. We do actually have a little bit of sad Doctor Who news to talk about. We lost another, alumni of Doctor Who. We've lost actually writer Bob Baker to, sadly enough, at the age of 82. A lot of people know him, of course, as one of the creators of K9 and other, older Doctor Who stuff like Omega and the Doctor Who crossover, the Three Doctors. But you also, a lot of folks, knew him as a writer for Wallace and Gromit. So, he was very steeped in British culture. And it's really, really sad to hear about his passing.
People tend to think of him as one of the Pertwee writers because of the Three Doctors and things like that. But he wrote more of his stuff during Tom Baker. Sontaran Experiment is one of Tom's first season. Hand of Fear, Sarah Jane's final episode, and a few other ones, including Invisible Enemy, which introduced K9. If I remember this rightly, he was the last living writer from the Pertwee era.
Yes.
Isn't that insane? So now, no more. The whole, everyone who contributed an episode to the Pertwee era is gone.
It's really crazy.
That is so sad.
Because it was a huge blow when we lost Terrence, and now.
Oh God, yeah.
And then now with Bob, and it's amazing.
I don't know. Does it go without saying that we've already lost all of the contributors to the first two Doctors?
Oh, long time ago. Yeah.
I guess you would assume so, right? At this point,
you have a couple of the actors still from the first.
Yeah, that's why it's not unheard of to think that maybe there'd be somebody still around, but I don't know that for sure. I'm just sort of asking, but yeah, it is sad.
Yes, but especially given Mr. Baker's legacy with K9. K9 is so well known, as an icon of the show from both classic and New Who. That it is a sad time to see him gone.
And he wrote a couple of episodes in the K9 reboot series from. When was that? 2010?
Yeah, the Australian version.
Around 2010. Yes. So, he was still very active. And even up through, he wrote 6 episodes of the last Wallace and Gromit series, World of Invention, which was also 2010. So he stayed active for quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
It is good.
Yeah, and I think he was also one of those, let's call them old school or classic Doctor Who writers or contributors that were pretty vocal about the revival and being sort of told or at least informed that the writers from the original classic series were not welcome with New Who. I think that changed, but obviously it changed because he participated in the K9 series. But I don't know if was Russell T over that. That was something produced differently, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. That was a separate production.
No, because the new K9 series was all done in Australia, and so I don't think Russell or any Bad Wolf Productions had anything to do with it. So but it was interesting. I love that his autobiography that he wrote in 2013 was K9 Stole My Trousers.
sort of a mix of both, right?
Exactly. Which is awesome. And of course, it's cheese. But yeah, it's sad, and rest in peace, sir. You will be missed, and such a talent.
Alan, do you know if he was into like Doctor Who fandom? Did he do a lot of appearances? Did he go to a lot of conventions? Or
I don't know, actually.
If he was that accessible?
I don't know. I've not heard of any ones that he did, unless he, they have like some events over in England that are basically signing, like autographing kind of things that aren't convention type of things. And he may have gone to Gallifrey 1 at some point. I'm not sure. It's not something I've ever heard of.
I do know that he participated in a lot of like some of the bonus features on DVDs, commentaries for Doctor Who stuff. That some of the ones that he wrote and everything. So it's not like he turned a blind eye to it or whatever. But I just didn't know, because I know some people are into the con scene and some aren't. So
right, yeah, true. I don't know. It's a good question. I was actually thinking of it too, because I was thinking that's somebody that I never did have contact with about Wholanta, about the possibly being a guest, because we had a lot of Doctor Who guests, but there was a lot more people that I talked to that never ended up being able to come for whatever reasons. And he was one that I never had contact with.
Well, interesting. Yeah, I'm looking right now on Wikipedia. Bob Baker actually was at Gallifrey 21.
Oh, okay.
So fairly recent.
I thought he had done so
2010
10 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Hey,
yeah.
For Doctor Who, that's fairly recent. So, yeah,
cool.
So yeah, it's awesome to see that he actually did participate in fandom and such. So, and so it's very cool, and sometime we're going to have you on the show, Alan, to tell us, what it was like trying to get book guests and put on a Doctor Who con.
Okay.
That would be awesome.
That would be fun. Let's do that.
Yeah, I think we will after the season's over.
I've got some stories.
Oh.
One can only imagine.
I wonder if Apple Pie is going to need to be involved in that one. So, very cool. Well, rest in peace, Bob Baker. So, you brought a lot of joy to a lot of people, and you will be missed. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to be back with the review of the new episode of Doctor Who.
Doctor Who! Hey! The TARDIS! Doctor Who! Hey! Doctor Who! Doctor Who! Doctor Who! Doctor Who!
I'm Drew Leiter.
And I'm Cletus Jacobs.
Join us weekly as we journey into DC's infinite frontier.
We discuss DC news, comics, television shows, movies, and more.
Earth Station DCU is part of the ESO network. Check us out where fine podcasts are found.
On my command. Doctor! What do you want?
To reign in hell.
I will not let them die. We've come to reclaim what you took.
They shall not have
this! Welcome back. Now we are talking about Chapter 3 of Doctor Who Flux. We are talking about Once Upon a Time. This one, actually, it was written by Chris Chibnall and produced by Pete Levy and executive produced Chris Chibnall and Matt Stevens and Nikki Watson. So, very interesting story that left me when I was first watching it. For the first half, I was like going, what the hell's going on? And then for the second half, I was like, oh, this is good. This is... I had fun with it. And some of my predictions that I had been saying, there was a couple was like, I was right. So I'm pretty happy about, some of this episode. Some of it was just like, it's okay. But
just filler.
Yeah, exactly.
Parts of it were just filler.
Oh, very much so. Let's dive in with both feet. Initial thoughts. Alan, you've been kind of quiet already, so let's hear your initial thoughts.
All right. I'll be honest with you. I am incredibly ambivalent about this whole thing. I don't dislike it, but I don't necessarily like it. The thing is, I just don't care. I don't really care what the resolution of this whole thing is going to be, and I don't care how we're going to get to it. It's just, I honestly think that this production schedule that we're on, where we get a new season every 2 years, has just sort of killed my interest. It's just, I don't know. I should be, after a 2-year break, I should be excited about a new Doctor Who season, and I just cannot get into it. And I'm still watching it. I'm still expecting it to, grab my attention at some point and to, really, but I'm having a very hard time getting this. I just cannot get on board with it. I'm just not interested. So I'm sorry, but I hate to be a downer. I totally hate to be negative, because here's the thing. For the last 2 seasons, I've really enjoyed, Jodie and the episodes, and there's been a clunker here or there, but for the most part, I've really enjoyed it. And I've sat and listened to people gripe and gripe and gripe about how horrible it is and about how bad the writing is and blah, blah, blah. And so now everybody else seems on board with it, and I'm just like, blah. So
she's on the other foot, huh?
Exactly. I just cannot get in sync with this whole situation.
Well,
interesting.
Do you think it's the style of the storytelling, or what do you?
I don't know. Maybe. I just don't. I don't know. I mean, nothing's really happened that makes me interested. Like I don't really care who Vendor is, and I don't know. It's just,
so maybe for you, it's the characters. You're not getting into the characters.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe.
Do you miss Ryan and Graham that much?
It's
great.
Well, it's understandable. We all miss Graham.
Graham would certainly spice this up a lot.
I mean, the show has to go on. We know that, but damn, Bradley, we miss you, man.
I think part of it is style. It's so heavy. It started out trying to be like immediately epic, and everything in the world and in the universe is in danger, and there hasn't been any light moments. There hasn't been any humor. There hasn't been any fun. So I think that's what it is.
A lot of the critiques I've seen so far from people who haven't really gelled with it yet to this point have been that there's just so much so fast, and they're lost because there's no coherent, through line right now. It's just, here's a whole lot of data, a whole lot of information, and all these bad guys and all these universe ending events, and the Doctor is on the back foot, has no idea what's going on.
And that's fine. But the thing is, I think the season started with, like, once you start with something that's, threatening the entire universe, where do you go from there? Mm-hmm. It just seems like it started so massive that it's like there was no buildup, so it's just a matter of style preference, I think.
Yeah, and look, this is the 3rd episode, right? Yeah. So we're at the halfway point.
Yeah.
I allowed, certainly, based on the structure of the season, I was really excited about the first episode and then the second one, and I made certain allowances because certainly they wouldn't stand on their own as stories, right? So, but I can see where in this 3rd episode the Chibnall cracks are coming in, right? They're starting to seep in, and I'm starting to go, I'm starting to hesitate a bit. Mainly in this episode in particular, because the first half, as Mike alluded to, the first half is crazy, but not necessarily in a good way. It's just sort of random. And I think that's what, oddly enough, I think that's the effect he was going for. Yeah. And we do get some little character moments in dispersed there, a little bit of humor, and some moments there, but it doesn't end up meaning anything. And to your point, Alan, we've seen several times now, especially with New Who, like the universe is in trouble. I mean, that's the one thing about, one big difference between New Who and Classic Who. In Classic Who, they were just stories, and they had implications and ramifications, but it seems like every big epic story has to involve like the whole universe as we know it ending, or time or space. And to be honest with you, like, as they're talking about time and space and this planet called Time and Swarm's whatever his plan is to pit time against space or whatever, I'm like, this means nothing to me. These are just
well, that's because it means nothing.
Yeah, you're just slinging around these words.
You can't compete space against time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, this doesn't even make sense to me, and I feel like, yeah, they're just creating these things. Like, it's to see the awesome special effects of the planets like exploding and everything. I get that. I mean, the Flux looks dangerous. They've established that to me. But as far as what else is going on and the end game for Swarm or whatever, he's the big bad this season, and I can't get it. I'm not with him. I mean, I think the actor's doing a good enough job, but I just don't. I'm starting to feel like, oh, okay. And I'll stop for a second, but in a second, but I'm also like the beginning of this, like before we went in, we were kind of wondering, okay, what's Chibnall going to do? Is he going to, address the timeless child? Is he not? What's he going to do? Is this going to be a standalone? What's going? Now we definitely understand he is definitely wrapping up or addressing his timeless child's story. And now that seems to be the main focus instead of now he's jamming all this stuff in. And there were hints in this that in this episode where if it's going where it could go, could be really ugly.
If I'm thinking of what you're thinking of, then I agree with you. Like I think you're referencing a specific thing at the end of the episode. And,
yeah, I mean, we're doing spoilers, so I know, but I knew we were going to talk about Vinder and Bell, right? Yeah. Who I think are beautiful characters. I like them. I'm compelled by their story. I think they're cast well. I think they have charisma. Heck, I would almost even watch a show with them. The implications that are hinted at in this episode, I can't.
If they go there, I am going to be so insanely angry.
Yeah. And what we're talking about, of course, is that these are the Doctor's parents.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
As yet unborn child.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh, yeah.
I've heard that rumor, and it was just like, really?
Yeah.
That was one of the things that was spoiled for me yesterday. And it was just like, really?
I don't know that is, I mean, as far as we know right now, it's not confirmed.
Oh,
right?
No, it's not.
It's just a theory.
No, it's a theory.
And
it is.
That's a dangerous theory for Chibnall to hold in front of us.
Yeah.
There's that theory that's just no, please don't. And then the one that they laid the groundwork with this Ossock character who they didn't name in the show, but it's an old lady who the Doctor appears to, who seems to have all the puzzle pieces and that doesn't say anything. And to me, that felt like a foreshadowing for a giant reset button on the mythology. I was like, do not do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, we're coming up on 60 years of mythology. It's a big, laborious beast, but you can work around that. We've done it for 60 years.
We could just call her Anti-Monitor if you really want.
Oh, God.
But yeah, when I first saw her, I thought, oh, the White Guardian or something like that.
Yeah.
Would be a little more.
My first thought was, that I forget which story it was, but the one where Russell just like inserted this woman, and you're supposed to think, is she the Doctor's mother? Is she whatever? And
I know what
he's
you're
like,
talking about.
and he's like, oh well, the viewer can decide for themselves who this character is, and I'm like, that's just crap.
No, we can't decide for ourselves.
Well, I think Chibnall's going to be more forceful on the defining those characters.
Oh yeah, that's what he wants. I think.
Yeah, I think
he wants to be the one who resets everything. Unfortunately, and I really hope he doesn't go there.
This episode did throw me for a loop at the beginning, though, because it presented itself in a totally different theme than how it ended. Because it said, Belle's story at the beginning, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be one of those episodes where we see the same events from different points of view, repeated, like a Star Trek or whatever.
Yeah.
And it didn't go there. It started out with that little red herring of this is Belle's story, and then it starts doing the entire Lost in Your Own Timeline thing.
Yeah.
So I geared for something completely different because I've seen those before, and I just okay, we're doing the time loops again. I don't like these
Been
shows.
there, done that, wrote the book. I did like the Doctor's black jacket, though. That was pretty awesome. I think that was the best part about it.
Is it just that her coat is reversible?
No, I think the costume designers actually said somewhere that it was actually a completely different jacket.
But isn't the jacket she's always worn that light gray color on the outside and a dark blue on the inside?
Yeah, the colors are reversed, but it's a different jacket. It's not just like
it doesn't really
inside out.
It doesn't really give you it just looks like she's wearing it inside out. Okay. Why, if you're going to design a new coat, design a new coat.
Yeah.
I did like Joe Martin in this, though. I liked seeing the fugitive doctor. That was a nice little return.
When she showed up.
Yeah.
Did any of you? Was that a surprise for anyone?
Yes,
it was a surprise for me.
Yes,
awesome. But you knew that she would show up sometime this season.
Oh yeah,
or did you?
I wasn't expecting her there.
I suspected, but I didn't know.
Right? Exactly. That's what I meant.
I figured if we're going to deal with the timeless child thing,
right?
She had to come back at some point.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
So there were times where she was starting to say a sentence, and 13 was finishing it, and I'm like, okay, that's a cool effect, but that you're cutting off a great actress to delivering a good line. That I didn't think was necessary. So
yeah, but I think that this is like just a scene setting kind of thing. I think that Joe will definitely be back later in the season, almost definitely in the finale. And this isn't like the only contribution she's going to make to this story,
right?
So it's definitely there will be more.
So are we thinking now? And I'm thinking broad now, but are we thinking that Chibnall's going to do what he's going to do, whatever it is, and it's probably going to tick off a lot of us. And then, but at the end of his run, there's going to be someone that's going to be like reset. And then when Russell comes in, he's just going to do whatever he wants.
Discontent in fandom? Never discontent in fandom.
Is that what we're thinking, or are these things that we're going to learn, are they going to have long-term ramifications?
No,
I seriously doubt it.
I think they are going to go away as soon as RTD comes on board.
It's kind of hard to put that back in the box, isn't it?
Oh, no, it's not. They've done it before.
I'm torn on that because, it could just be the typical, not really Hollywood, because this isn't Hollywood, but it's very similar. The very Hollywood back patting that goes on, like, oh yeah, we're good friends, because RTD has said a lot about Chibnall and them, being good friends, and they're really closely tied, and that he approves of a lot of the stuff that has happened so far with under Chibnall's watch. And I don't know how much stock to put into that, but if it is true, and he's just like, yeah, this is going to stand, then he may just, okay, we're going to pick it up, we're going to set it over here. It happened, and we're going to continue forward with what I'm going to do.
Well, and here's the other interesting thing about this is that we have this current 6-episode season. Following that, next year are 3 standalone. Well, we assume standalone specials.
Mm-hmm.
So, is this storyline actually going to wrap up with Chibnall's era, or is it going to wrap up with this season? And the 3 specials next year are going to be something completely different. Like, how much of this is going to continue into the specials next year?
Yeah, I got a feeling he's going to wrap it up here.
I think so too.
I do too, and I think the next 3 specials will just have the Doctor hearing he will knock 3 times.
Oh God!
The third great farewell tour.
Exactly.
Bad wolf everywhere.
Right. Yeah. The third of those
bad wolf.
The third of those 3 specials is the one that coincides with the BBC's 100th anniversary. Mm-hmm. So it's supposed to be a big, epic, whatever it's going to be. Mm-hmm. So I wonder how much of this is laying ground for whatever Chibnall is planning for that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think though we talked also before this season started about how like the timeless child had possibilities, about how the renegade doctor might just be not what she says she is, or something that the master cooked up or whatever. I think it's clear in this episode that is not the case. That is
definitely the doctor.
She
well,
is definitely
at
the
least
doctor.
not in Chibnall's view, but that is a way that RTD could, wreck on it.
There's always a way. But Chibnall has said in interviews as far back as, when last season was broadcast, that she is the doctor proper. She's not alternate facts. She's not, parallel universe. She is the doctor. So how that plays out in the storyline, we don't know yet.
And that was one of my big favorite things about this episode, because I like the timeless child. I like that idea. I am a minority in fandom. I understand this, but getting some more of those clues about that in this episode, seeing Joe Martin's fugitive doctor, doing what a fugitive doctor does, and being able to be put into that scenario. I was loving that, and I sympathize with the 13th Doctor's. No, let me go back one more time. I need to know, and not getting that. That's some great character drama.
I agree with you. I think that that was Jodie's absolute strength in this episode, were those scenes where she was so desperate. I'm so close to having an answer. That was wonderful. I absolutely loved it.
She has been amazing this season. I think it's her best performance of any of the seasons that she's been the Doctor. And I think one thing that I will give Chris credit to is that we're seeing a different side of her. We're seeing a different side of this Doctor, a darker side, a more obsessed side. The fact that she snaps at Yaz, saying, I don't have to explain everything to you. These things like that. I'm like, that's the Doctor. Like that. Like I've been waiting for moments like that, because almost every Doctor, as pleasant as they have been, have that side to them. And I don't think we've really seen enough of it
That's
during
true.
her run.
And we did see some of that in the finale of the first season, where she and Graham are at odds.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I didn't like that episode the least bit, but I thought that was really good. I thought that was really well played.
Yes.
On the other hand, I had high hopes in episode 1, chapter 1 of this whole thing about, they're going to give Yaz a lot more meat to deal with. She's so wasted in this.
In this episode.
This episode, she was, yes.
Well, it's completely frustrating.
Both the segments with Bishop and Yaz are just filler. They just like filler, or they're just standing around while the Doctor info dumps on them.
Well, the one thing with the Yaz segments is that was starting to introduce the Weeping Angels into the storyline.
Well, really clumsily, yeah.
Yes, very clumsily.
There's a lot of clumsy. It's just clumsy writing here. It's like, first of all, there's a lot of telling, not showing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of exposition. I realize you have to explain some things, but there's a lot of that, especially in those segments. I think they only exist for her to info dump, which is not good storytelling.
Right. No. Especially when the info that she's giving us is just nonsense.
Yeah. A lot of it is
all this stuff about a planet called time, and these people time can be controlled. It must be controlled, and all this. It's just like, this is meaningless to me.
Right. Yeah. And that's my thing, is that, the planet time and the Maury and, all this stuff is like, you've introduced so many things now that I'm just not even caring.
And I don't even want to get started on Passenger. That was
right.
That was ridiculous.
Right.
Well, also, and the effect of the Doctor, where she's in front of the 3 giant Maury.
Yeah,
they kept going back to. That was laughable. That was like John Nathan Turner level of.
I was just going to say that it wasn't quite as bad as Colin Baker in Time Lash, but it was close.
Yes,
that's what I was just about to say. It was a Time Lash thing, right?
Yeah,
there.
totally.
Oh, either that or a really bad heavy metal video from the 80s.
That too. Yeah, that too. The one thing that I think for me that will redeem this whole thing is that we got talked about time storms so much this episode. If Ace doesn't show up at some point, I'm going to be upset.
Well, especially with them.
Storm has got to blow Ace into this thing.
Oh, exactly.
I will be on board.
So you wanted Nitro 9, huh? You know.
Exactly. You see, and we had a mention of Nitro 9. So we have to, clearly Ace has to be in this.
Yes.
Clearly. If I were writing it, that's what would happen.
I'm on board.
I wouldn't put money on it.
Well, neither would I, but I'm still on board with the theory.
I like the idea, but I wouldn't put money on it.
No, I'm not really. So.
There you go. So it was interesting. And what did you think of, I'm glad we got a little bit of Vinder's backstory, though, in this. I think out of the flashbacks, that was the most worthwhile.
Oh,
agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, his segment was good, and he was really good. The actor was really good.
Yes.
Agreed.
Bell and Vinder segments were really good.
There's been a really strong thread throughout this of looking at Vinder since we were introduced to him, the conflict he's got, and he's very sullen and kind of broody, and you're like, okay, what's going on with him? This was great to see, okay, this is what was happening to him.
Right.
We got the answers.
It was a very meaty subplot. Whereas, when you get into Yaz's timeline, she's like playing a video game with her sister and
or she's sitting in a police car.
Exactly. And it's like, really? You can't have anything more significant than that?
No. And it was interesting because that answered some of the questions we were, from the very first episode on, we were asking about Vinder, because we thought he might have been a prisoner on the Rose space station.
He kind of was.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Right.
And that's what the answer we got. And, he was doing the right thing and he got burnt for it. And
so far, we've not really talked about Dan.
Who? No.
Wow.
His flashback story did a good thing in reestablishing that there's what is her name, the
Diane.
woman Diane. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
See, I can't remember the characters' names. It's just so meaningful.
Tells you something.
Establishing Diane again, like, okay, they have a connection. Great. We've seen that little thread kind of bounce throughout, but the rest of it was just like, what are we doing here? Why is
So this explains why she was kidnapped by Azure. And, in the first episode, it was just like, didn't make sense then, still doesn't make sense,
Yeah, like what's important now, we see him get, dog napped, right? In the first, and he's like, what's so special about me? And he's like, nothing. The answer is he's nothing. That's who he's assigned to. But now we seem to find out that there must be something special with him, because why on earth would Swarm and Azure be singling him out specifically? So there must be something about Dan.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it has something to do with the folks we saw. It was Antarctica, I think, is the very first one. There's a couple throwaway characters, and they knew something was happening. Oh, we were waiting for this exact moment, and then they get destroyed or whatever. And I was watching it with Mike Faber, this episode. I looked at him like, there's something with those characters. Dan is so mysterious as well. I wonder if it's linked somehow with that. There's not a lot of information about him. He said some weird off the wall things, but.
It's a TARDIS, I've seen bigger, But was that him him just being bragging?
Right. It just seemed like, this is how I cope with situations. But the funny thing is that what this keeps making me think of is and this is going to sound odd, but the new ABBA album, because it has a track on it called Keep an Eye on Dan.
See.
So I keep.
So ABBA's going to be in the final episode of the season.
Out the villains have been ABBA all along.
They're probably the Maury.
Yeah.
The Flux is so insidious; it's everywhere.
Right, exactly.
See, they're trying to send an SOS out. So it's okay.
Wow.
Hey, we got to take a chance on them somehow.
This is going downhill fast.
Wow.
Did not expect that to happen in this review.
Yeah. That's all right. I say this is half a good episode.
Yeah.
Half of it's pretty intriguing and half of it's filler, and it's just like, it just feels like the middle of the middle miniseries where he's trying to very clumsily move from the first half to the second half.
I like the cliffhanger. Cliffhanger was awesome.
Actually, he's been pretty good with the cliffhangers this season.
Yeah. You know,
it's no Sylvester McCoy with his umbrella.
Yeah. It never is, Michael. It never is.
The JNT era is really taking some heat in this episode.
Yeah, I did like, the angel coming out of the cell phone, because any image of the angel is an angel, and love that.
Now it has control of the TARDIS.
The angels have the TARDIS.
And if they all look at him, then he can't. It doesn't matter if he has control because he was not going to do it.
Yeah, he can't move.
And that's what's intriguing to me too. Is the angels have been there. Episode 1, now episode 3. There's something that they're doing in the background, and it was that the battle lines are pretty clearly drawn. Like, okay, the Daleks, we got the Sontarans, we got the Cybermen. They're all doing their thing, fighting over what's left of post Flux universe. And what are the angels up to? Why do they need the TARDIS? Why are they just kind of skulking around?
Okay, so the angels do the thing where they send you back in time and feed on your potential energy or whatever.
Right.
So what if they are the good guys in this and they are finding people to send into the past to fix the stuff before it happens?
I you know what? I'm not opposed to that idea. I've had similar thoughts to that. Like maybe they're, when I saw one controlling the TARDIS, I'm like, maybe they're actually trying to do something good. I mean, we, whatever, because I think they're the one that are, they're in Claire's storyline, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right. So, and I know we're going to get a little bit more of that next week, but, so yeah, maybe they specifically sent her back for a reason. And maybe she'll end up being the Doctor's nanny. Who knows?
Right. Once Bell and Vendor have their kid,
exactly,
that turns out to be the Doctor. Then,
we will call him John Smith.
No, I think it's a very feasible idea there, because the Daleks just want to make everything the same. The whole goal is destroy anything that's not them. The Cybermen want to also do essentially the same by assimilating everyone.
Yeah.
The Sontarans just want to win everything. The angels are virtually indestructible, but they must realize that if the universe ends, they have nothing to feed on. Ergo, they die. They starve to death. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. That's a good angle. I hadn't thought about that.
They basically just want to save their livestock.
This is why we have a rocket scientist on the show.
Interesting.
No, that's not a bad theory. That is not a bad theory, and it would be a nice little twist too.
Yeah, right. So the other thing that I'm thinking of, I don't know when the next episode is clearly a historical one. I don't know when it's supposed to be taking place, but when are we going to find out more about these stupid tunnels from the first episode?
Right?
Yeah, he just he shows up and wanders through every once in a while.
He's been in every episode so far.
Yeah.
Joseph Williamson.
And he seems to know what's going on. To an extent, but yeah,
because he did save Dan's life in this one.
Yeah,
that's Jim.
Yeah, from those little swarmy things.
Yeah.
So,
what was he actually at the tunnel, or was that just a that time stream figment thing where?
That's kind of what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Because I thought it was, I thought it was kind of weird that it popped up, and I was like, okay, maybe this is where a sidetrack where the Doctor just kind of figured out a way to shove him in there to keep him safe.
Yeah.
But then the Doctor going through her own time stream was shunted off to this weird place with the lady who's got all the answers and says nothing.
She knows it all. That's a typical. No, never mind.
So I'm wondering, maybe this is part of his real past, or I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we won't know until episode 6.
And even then.
And maybe even then.
In typical Chibnall fashion.
Go figure. Maybe. Go figure. But yeah, it was interesting to see, I liked how they, kept on phasing the fugitive Doctor more and more into the story in this one. I thought that was really well done. That was probably one of my favorite parts, other than the angels in this.
It's the only thing that really made me perk up.
Yeah.
You know, it was the only thing that I thought, oh my God, something interesting.
Well, that for me, it was that, and also Vinder's story.
True. I really did enjoy Vinder's, the look we got into his past.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that a lot.
Mm-hmm. He made him more sympathetic.
Although that felt like a Big Finish story to me. I felt like I was listening to a Big Finish story. I was like going, is this like, yeah, that's okay. All right. Well, all right. You go, Chris. You do you. Mm-hmm. But I did, you know, I was compelled. I like I said, I like Belle a lot. The scenes where she's in, you know, I appreciate it. And, you know, her taking on the Cybermen, I thought was pretty cool. Well done. And I dug her. Even like the fact that she can talk to her inbred child with a little, you know,
her little Tamagotchi thing.
Like, her little video app or whatever. I thought that was pretty cool, pretty fun, you know.
I like that too, but I thought it looked too similar to Smile, the second Bill episode, where they had the little emoji. And I was like, I mean, that's cute, but we've seen that before. I'm just so critical. I really.
Wow, Alan.
I know. I'm rarely like this.
Yeah.
I really wanted to have the opportunity to watch the episode a second time before we recorded tonight, because I wanted to know if I saw it a second time, if I would. Sorry. If I saw it a second time, if I would grab hold of it more, and I didn't get the opportunity to do so, sadly. So. Maybe you'll graciously have me on later in the season to see if my opinion has been altered by further revelations down the line.
Well, that's what we're going to do pretty much anyway. We're going to come back to everybody who's been on the show.
Oh, sweet.
And they're going to give a final rating for the whole season.
Awesome.
Instead of rating just an episode.
Sure.
And
cool. I will say this is the first episode of the season that I didn't feel compelled to watch again. I might change my mind and watch it again before the fourth episode airs. But as of right now, I was just kind of like, I'm good.
Yeah. One of the things the woman said was that the doctor caused the flux.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all her fault.
It's all her fault.
It's always that. My sister said, "Oh, great! It's always the doctor's fault."
Great doctor. What did you do this time? You know.
Well,
or yet to do.
I don't think that it's not. And she didn't say the doctor created the flux. She said that the flux was deliberately created and placed, and it is the doctor's fault that it exists. So theoretically, it could be some thing that's against the doctor because of what the doctor has done.
Yeah.
And that's why the flux is created.
Right.
It's not saying I don't think she created it or
No, I think it was created to use against her is the implication I got.
You remember the days when the doctor was just this character who kind of ambled around through the universe and just had random adventures, and then later on became this figure that was so massively important that the entire universe knows who it is and does things to plot against. Yeah, that's another thing that I'm kind of
Doctor Who.
Right.
The question that shall never be. Yeah.
I mean, it made me think of the Pandorica because that was basically the same storyline.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But I do think, Mike, something that you pointed out last week, in that I didn't know if there was a lot of evidence to it, but now that I see, like, because I got the feeling that whatever did create the flux is not Swarm.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So we are looking at another big bad. Swarm and Azure are there to create some sort of havoc. And just on a side note, I wish they had made they hadn't changed Swarm's look so radically when he was in the past, because I had a hard time placing that it was the same guy.
But we saw that look in the first episode, though.
We did.
Yeah, but it was
he sort of transformed. Form.
Right? Did he
regenerate it?
Is he Time Lordish?
Yeah. There's what's going on there? I don't. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I think, Mike, to your point, there might be something else as well going on.
When she said that, and about Swarm is the perfect chaos, and and about the Flux, it was like I did a fist pump. I said I knew it. So
remind me here: have we ever answered the question as to what the fugitive doctor is a fugitive from, like what she did.
Well,
because now my brain is starting to wonder if this is the reason she's a fugitive, because this was like the last, they said it's the last thing she has to do before her contract or whatever with the division was up. If I remember that correctly. And so I'm wondering if she's going to be somehow linked into creating this force of chaos in order to get back at, this evil division thing, or I don't know. This is another off the wall idea, but
that would be weird if the fugitive doctor ends up being the big bad. I don't think.
She's the Valyard. That's it.
I wasn't going to say the V word, but
you thought it though. So
the image of a Valyard is still the Valyard. No way.
No.
I don't know if the is it the June, right? June. I don't think. I think they must have posted a list of her offenses somewhere, so maybe that's on record somewhere. But I don't think they went over it in that episode.
Right.
No, I don't think so.
No, I'd be very curious to see, what comes out of this, and I didn't think Chibnall knew where he was going at this point. He's like, okay.
Oh, he does. He does.
Oh, I think he knew.
He knows where he's going. He doesn't. He might not
just hope it's someplace good.
He doesn't always take the best road to get there. Sometimes he goes the long way, and sometimes he goes like the windy way that doesn't make any sense way. But he's definitely steering the ship in some direction. I could tell.
And we'll find it all out in the last 15 minutes of the episode 6.
Maybe. Who knows?
It'll be rushed to the credits, and wait, we're done.
And we'll be like, what?
Yeah, what?
It was interesting though. This episode was a little bit shorter than the other 2 episodes too.
Was it? Because it seemed to go on forever.
I was thinking the same thing, Alex.
No, the other 2 episodes were 59 minutes, and this one was only 50 minutes.
Ah, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So I found it very, very interesting. And I did take Mike Falkner's advice and watch this on streaming instead of, there's no commercials, which is wonderful.
And
it makes a
the
big
audio.
difference.
The audio is so much more even too.
Good point.
The audio was terrible on the BBC America.
Yeah, we did learn how to turn on the closed captioning on the on the AMC Plus app, so it's good.
Excellent.
Yes. So yeah, I'll still give this one a thumbs up for this episode. I think the last 30 minutes made it for me. And so I don't give half-cocked, thumbs. So I'll give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, I was going to give it a thumb sideways.
Yeah.
That's what I would say too.
Like this.
Yep, exactly.
Exactly. They went from up to sideways.
Yeah.
Now we'll see if Chris, you can go either way, Chris.
Little 45-degree angle thing going on.
No, I'm still giving it a thumbs up. I still liked it. It was interesting how in the flashback, we didn't even mention this, that the Doctor's companions, when it was the fugitive Doctor, was her crew that she was with now, but it was actually, a very familiar face was with her, who was Dan. And I don't know if you guys caught that.
What?
That he was the Cravinista?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting. So they've been around a lot longer in Doctor Who lore there. So, well, new old lore. So it was just interesting, and I'm curious to see who the other 2 were. So,
we didn't get that. I kind of thought maybe one of them was the one that we saw at the first episode, the member division that was retiring, and
it could have been.
I thought one of them might have been that, but they didn't flash or do anything to show that it was
her. So. Yeah. But it was. I am. Overall, I'm curious and I'm actually excited about Doctor Who again, which is nice. I'm actually looking forward to seeing new Doctor Who each week, and because I'm just curious to see where Chris is going with the storyline, and I don't want to have to, burn his effigy at the end of the season. So, So.
You have to have a party and burn the straw, Chris Chibnall.
Exactly. So it'll be very interesting. Any final thoughts before we wrap this one up?
I think that like the big drawdown on this one was just the Yaz and Dan, especially the Yaz storyline. Like, you've had this character on the show for 2 seasons plus what we've got now. I really hope that the rest of this season does something to actually use her as a legitimate full-fledged character and not just being there and being a punching bag, apparently, for this series. I would really like to see
so well in the first 2 episodes.
I know.
Yeah.
So much promise.
Yep.
And I thought that the part that she played in Vinder's plotline, she was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when you come to her own timeline, there's nothing there.
Right.
It just shows how uninteresting of a character she actually is, which kind of sucks because they've done her right this season until this episode.
Yeah.
So, suckage. So, well, we definitely would love to hear from you guys at home. What did you guys think of this one? Are we off base? Did you guys enjoy it or not so much? Please let us know, write us feedback at earthstationwho.com. Definitely would love to hear from you guys. Of course, let's thank our guests for being here. Alan, thank you as always for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I greatly enjoyed it.
Well, I hope glad you enjoyed it more than this episode. So
right. I found you all interesting and engaging, unlike what I saw this week.
So where can people find you?
Cosmicpress.com, KOZMIC press.com, and my YouTube music show, Modern Musicology.
That is awesome.
Oh, and how about also on Earth Station Trek?
I was waiting for that. I was waiting.
I am so remiss. The Star Trek podcast that I do on a weekly basis with 3 other co-hosts.
Yeah, and we even have new Star Trek starting this week.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Yep.
So excited.
I'm going to be very curious to see on that one. So thank you, of course. And of course, Mr. Michael Falkner.
Hey, thanks for having me once again. If people want to take a look at what I'm doing, it's actually a happy coincidence that we were talking about the ultimate question, the Doctor Who, because the Timestamps project is actually wrapping up series 6 with Matt Smith. So you can find that and so much more, especially going back to 2014, where I started doing this weird trek through Doctor Who 1 episode at a time, on my website, Creative Criticality. It's creativecriticality.net. You can also find it on the ESO website, and that's published every Wednesday.
Yay, and it's an honor to have you up there, sir.
Well, thank you.
So, and of course, let's thank our regulars. Ms. Mary Ogle, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. And I'd like to take an opportunity. I'd like to dedicate this particular podcast episode to my mom, who passed away on Thursday, and who adored Doctor Who. It was one of her absolute favorite programs. She was a big science fiction and fantasy fan. And she's definitely one of the reasons why I love Doctor Who so much and all things science fiction and fantasy. So thank you, Mom, for that and for everything. And I just wanted to dedicate this to her.
That's wonderful.
That's so sweet.
Absolutely.
And we are so sorry for your loss. And,
yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Do you want to talk about your artwork, or you want to skip it this week?
Oh, you can find me at maryogle.com or on Etsy at eVision Arts.
Excellent. And Mr. Mike Gordon, we've made it through another one.
We have, and as always, it's my pleasure.
Anything you want to... Well, we don't do shout-outs here. What am I saying? So that's that other show. As we said earlier in this episode, join us on Earth Station 1 this week, where we do our annual holiday gift guide. And you could find that out. That episode will be out already by the time this goes live. So definitely check it out. We got some great gifts. And you never know. We might all be living in virtual reality by the time, Doctor Who becomes good again. I don't know. Maybe. Possibly. Wow. So, hey, that could be our virtual program on there. Finding the true Doctor Who. So it should be kind of cool. Join us again next week when we are doing Village of the Angels. Should be a lot of fun to be creeped out by statues again. So hopefully everyone will enjoy it. And until then, my name is Mike Faber. We will see you here next time on Earth Station Who. Be safe, hug your loved ones, and please get vaccinated, folks. Please, please, please. Take it easy, and we'll see you next time on the TARDIS. Cheers.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a bi-weekly pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talents from across the universe. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individual and are used for entertainment value alone. You can subscribe to our podcast up on iTunes, Stitcher, or follow our blog at www.esopodcast.com. You can also follow us up on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. If you enjoyed the show, please leave feedback up on iTunes.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.